Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a well-known and respected publisher and an expert in book marketing from Mumbai, India, Namrata. Namrata, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Namrata is the founder of Keemiya Creatives, which is a literary consultancy. She's also the founder of Bookbots India, which is an initiative bringing transparency to publishing and book marketing. And as a published author, I know how important transparency is in publishing. And Namrata's travelogue come memoir, which is A Lost Wanderer, a book of memories, reflects her deep connection with storytelling. So, Namrata, before we talk of Keemiya and Bookbots, tell me about your own journey and how has your background in travel writing and literature shaped your journey as an editor and a literary consultant?
Sure. Long before I was any of these that you mentioned, I was actually a banker. I was an investment banker leading a
Wow.
state
Okay.
and with a 16 to 18 hours day,
Hmm.
grinding. And so until I got a very rude reminder from life, my health took a very bad toll. And that was my wake-up call. So that shock was enough. And it was a misdiagnosis which made them feel that maybe, I had something which was terminal. And
Oh
so
my.
for at least for 4 to 5 months, I was under the impression that it's a terminal illness and I have very limited time left on this earth. And so that's when I decided I quit my job. I thought, let's just, pick up travel. Let's look at the world and let's just be in this time that I have on my hand. So
Hmm.
that shock was what pushed me to actually explore all that I had put on hold till then. And
Hmm.
then suddenly, I was this girl who loved airports more than people, whose idea of therapy was just journaling on a bus ride through the Himalayas. And I actually went on a bike to Ladakh during
Wow.
that time with my anger, the frustration, the adrenaline, working 16 to 18 hours and everything
Hmm.
was so high. I
Hmm.
just didn't know how to bring it down. And travel helped me so much.
Amazing.
So that was how it actually happened. And travel, when I started traveling, I started writing and I started noting down my experiences. And that's how A Lost Wanderer was born. It was
Hmm.
messy, but it was magical and it was very healing.
Amazing.
And that curiosity that I had for cultures and landscapes, this is exactly what I bring to every manuscript that I edit or I ghostwrite or I work on. Because I look at stories the way I look at those new places,
Hmm.
new people. It's with a lot of awe, with a lot of surprise, and every story surprises you, right? Like there's everything, sometimes every time there is something new that you learn from the
Hmm.
manuscript.
Hmm.
And this is how everything was born.
Wow. Thank you. And what would you say was the most pivotal moment in your transition from an author to a founder to an industry change maker?
To be very honest, that's an experience that every author goes through.
Hmm.
So I worked on Lost Wanderer for 4 years.
Hmm.
And that is after doing workshops with a lot of and beta reading and everything. And yet there were rejections, constant rejections. And the rejection was not because of the writing, Ashutosh. It was because we don't know how to place it.
Hmm.
We don't know how to sell it. So we don't know whether, India is ready for a solo woman travel book. Elizabeth Gilbert, what she did in that book is different. That was at a global level. We don't know if India wants its own version yet.
Hmm.
And that's when it struck me that isn't this what publishing is actually all about? Isn't this what a publisher is supposed to be doing? Like taking risks or trying to find new voices, which are unique. Because I knew at least 30 women who wanted to know this story, who wanted to understand this journey well.
Hmm.
And that you can see when I published that book later, I got very good feedback on that. So that's when I did a circle back. And then when I tried self publishing it, my experiences were not so great, even in that.
Yeah.
Authors are taken for a ride. There are people who either don't tell you everything or they tell
Correct.
you, but it's not how it is. I'm sure you also are aware about that as a
Absolutely.
published author.
Yes.
So that's what led to Keemiya Creators because I wanted to bring transparency. I felt it's unfair. See, books are beautiful. We all love it. But because of this, it's getting a bad name. Authors
Hmm.
are like, this is not a good industry.
Hmm.
I don't know anyone. I
Yeah.
was taken for a bow,
Yeah.
right? Somebody stole my money.
Hmm.
So that was the pivotal moment that one night I was like, this is enough. I need to do this myself. And that's how it started. It's a very simple idea there.
How amazing, amazing. So let's talk about both Keemiya and Bookbots. Tell me a little bit more about both these initiatives, and then we'll get into book marketing a little more.
Sure. So Keemiya is the oldest. Actually, I started freelancing in 2014. And then for 4 years, I, worked with publishing houses, lit agents, and authors. And then in 2018, I brought this all together. And that's how Keemiya was born. So Keemiya is the writing side of everything that I do. It involves editing, beta reading, ghostwriting, mentoring, and everything which is the pre-publishing side of the book, if you call. And in Bookbots India is very recent. It's like the post-pandemic child. And so Bookbots India is all about book marketing.
Okay.
So with Bookbots India, I realized that again, authors after publishing are again reaching a roadblock where they need to now market their books. They need to talk about it and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And again, people are very secretive about the process. There is no transparency. Nobody tells them that, this is what you're supposed to do.
Correct.
So that was the idea behind Bookbots. We'll tell them what to do.
I know, I agree completely. In fact, one of the things I've always battled with all my publishers is that you are supposed to market, but I think the moment they publish, they move on to the next book.
Absolutely.
So let's now talk first about book marketing, then we'll talk about Keemiya as well. Tell me, why does effective book marketing look so difficult in today's publishing landscape? I mean, when an author puts her or his heart and soul into a book, and then they find the book's not selling.
In my opinion, I feel it is so difficult because of course, a lot of things. We have now social media. We have even, platforms like Blinkit are offering books. I was just making a presentation the other day, and that's what I said, that you just have some nanoseconds to grab somebody's attention. Just imagine getting a book delivered in 10 minutes. Can you imagine the options that person has?
Correct.
And the sense of urgency that every author needs to be, that I need to be there. I need to be there in their mind so that they order me. Correct. They order my book. They read that book. So there's no having too many options is what something I think would have spoiled a lot of things for us. Like somebody said, the curse of too many things here. Maybe 10 years back, we didn't struggle with so many platforms or so many options, like, vying for our attention. But that is where it is happening. And that is where authors need to understand that they don't need to be dipping their toes into every pie. They don't need to be dipping that. They need to just pick what works for them, what is an extension of them, what reflects them to the truest, and stick to it. And it works.
And what would you say are some important components of marketing your book?
Okay, let's start with some very basic things. The most important component, like I said, be honest, okay, and be consistent with what you do. And because that reflects. So say, for example, Ashutosh, you are a person who loves talking. You are a video person. You are a podcast host. So when you do video advertisements for the book, it shows that you are comfortable. But if there is someone who's not a talker, who's not a speaker, who's never been on videos, or who's not comfortable with the camera, if I try pushing that person on camera, that shows. Okay. They'll maybe churn out 5 videos, 10 videos, but by the 15th or 20th video, they'll be like, okay, this is very scary. So enjoy what you do. So if it's just about writing, maybe pick a platform where you're able to just write. Like LinkedIn is not a visual platform. You can write and still manage to get that. Then you don't need a video platform. So that is the trick. Be consistent, be real, and be you. That's what helps people connect. Because today, people don't buy authors. They invest in people.
Yeah. Very interesting. And, I've also seen this with a lot of authors. Once they published a book, they just assume someone else will take over.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what are some of the biggest misconceptions you have seen that writers have about the publishing industry in India?
Okay, let's talk about top 5.
Yeah.
The first one is definitely that getting published means it's done. Like, that's the goal. That's not the end goal. That's actually the place where it starts. It's one of the goalposts in your journey.
Yeah.
And if you are someone who plans to write more than one books, this is definitely not the end finish line. You have to constantly be at it. The second misconception is that a publisher handles all the marketing. Trust me, even the top three publishers, traditional publishers, don't do this.
Don't do that.
You need to know that as an author, you will be doing most of the heavy lifting. They may compliment your activities in marketing, they may not, but you will still have to, because for you it is the book.
Correct.
For a publisher, it is one of the books they'll be publishing that.
Correct.
The third misconception is this will make me rich. Let's be clear, publishing, writing does not have that much money for authors. It takes time.
Yeah.
So even if we look at the numbers, like J.K. Rowling started earning after the fourth book of Harry Potter came out. That's when she became a global phenomenon. She was at it for that many books.
Yeah.
And so it takes time. Like Paulo Coelho, if somebody today tells me, I always tell them he's written 22 books, which have been translated globally in so many languages. So it's been a journey. You look at them, you feel they are rich, but it's a process and it takes time. And of course, the misconception that traditional publishing is always a better option than self-publishing. It's 2025 and it's not true. Both of these have their pros and cons. You need to know what your goals are. And there is no shame associated with self-publishing in today's time. And the last, if the book is good, it will sell itself. No, it won't. Books don't walk off the shelves themselves. Correct. They need to have strategy. They need to have effort. It needs to be done.
Very well said. And such important pointers, all five of them. Very, very important. My next question, Namrata, is what is the role of an author's personal brand when it comes to, selling in their books?
Yeah. So, as I said just in an answer before, that people don't buy books. They buy people. They invest in people. In today's times, they need to know you. So your personal brand is what will make them choose your book over anybody else. So, and it is important that you show that persona to them. And the best case for this, the case study for this should be Durjoy Datta. If you know, Durjoy Datta started in 2010. He was a young 20-year-old author who was, who started with rom-coms and all. And he's been consistent with his writing, with his brand. He was a young out-of-college person. Today, he's a father of two. And you still see him making an effort on social media with that brand. He is still consistent with that funny, witty, bratty side of his. Though there is a father sense of maturity and all, but he's still got that side. So his audiences still relate to him even after 10 years. The platforms have changed. He has moved. Enter Instagram. He's moved into Instagram Reels. Before that, he was popular on X, which was Twitter at that time. Before that, it was Facebook. So he has changed platforms with time. He has changed his strategy, but the personality that Durjoy Datta has remains the same.
Very interesting.
So the questions you should be asking yourself for your brand is, what kind of a person? 3 words that I want people to remember me. Funny, witty, chatty, intellectual. Somebody who makes them think, or maybe who's a friend, who I want to be a friend. So that creates a tone for your posts, for your content when you speak to them.
Fascinating. And how does Keemiya Creatives support authors across different publishing paths?
So I can say in a simple language, we are basically the GPS for authors.
Okay.
So anybody, be it traditionally published authors who are looking at traditional publishing, or who have absolute no clue, or who are looking at self-publishing and are clear, we do everything. Like we handle manuscript reviews, we do beta reading, we offer editing services, we offer publishing guidances, and that includes decoding contracts, suggesting publishers, whether, like I said, you should do your goal. So we help you match that goal with a publisher. So every publisher has, can tell you what they can offer, though they don't tell you verbally, but it shows if you actually do your research well. And that's what you should be matching with your requirements. That is this author publisher, completing what I am looking for in a publisher. And of course, we can also help you self-publish, and then mentoring if you need more help on writing. And of course, the last, that is author branding.
Fascinating. Let's also now talk about Bookbots India. And you said Bookbots is an initiative to bring transparency to publishing and book marketing. Tell me, what kind of transparency do you help to bring to publishing for an author?
So with BookBots, we actually do it in two ways. One is a podcast. So that is the only podcast in South Asia on book marketing where we actually share tips, we share tricks, we do case studies. Like we pick up a latest book and we analyze and we tell them what worked, what didn't work. We analyze marketing strategies of popular authors like Preeti Shenoy, Ashwin Sanghi, who've become very popular. We actually teach authors, and that podcast is available across platforms for free. The second thing is a very detailed workshop which we do, which is the goal setting workshop for authors. So that is like a longer version of like a 4 to 6 weeks duration, depending on the time that an author takes out. We work with them very closely. So the podcast has a very generic knowledge which needs to be told, but that in workshops it's a very customized one. It will be for you, for the genre that you've written, for your book, for the kind of person that you are, and it involves a lot of research. We teach you how to read tools, which tools would you need. So by the end of that workshop, you actually walk out with a blueprint for the next 6 months, 6 to 9 months, that you can start implementing and see difference in your marketing strategies.
Amazing. And since you mentioned tools, my next question is, what kind of tools can empower authors? But more importantly, I understand that now something like a chat GPT can write a whole book for you.
Absolutely.
So what is your advice?
Okay, I'll answer the second part of the question first. I am a very, pro AI. It's not, I understand that we are talking about copyrights and all, and that I always ask everyone to be very wary of. But AI is a very good tool when you are looking at book marketing. It can help you strategize. It can help you draft those captions. It can help you, it's more like a very smart assistant to have, who can take off the menial things which actually don't need your creativity, but still add to your job. They make your life easier that way. So I always encourage authors to look at it like that. Look at it as an assistant, but not as somebody who will do your job. So you should be writing, but give them the research perhaps. That will help you. Because today, for example, I'm writing a story set in Kashmir, and I want to go at a time when there is a village where there was a river in the 50s when the partition happened. If I put this in Google, Google will give me like, say, 500 options. But if I put this exact query in an AI, chat GPT or any other AI, it'll come back to me with very 5 precise answers. That saves my time as a writer. And then I'll be like, okay, does this river has a tree? I need a tree by the riverside. Which one of these had autumn? Does this have autumn, or does this directly go to snowfall? I want a place with heavy snowfall. The more I narrow, the more my search options come down. And that's so much better than, going through 500 options.
Absolutely. That's a very, very powerful thought that you have. And I know I use ChatGPT, Perplexity, and several others when I'm looking for a quote from an Indic scripture. And, it gives me the quote, it gives me the meaning, it gives me the reference, which I was not able to get from Google very easily.
Absolutely.
All right. Well said. Well said. Namrata, you spoke a little bit about social media when you were telling me about this author. But tell me, is social media essential for every author? And do you think there are alternative strategies also?
Of course, there are alternate strategies. Like if you look at somebody like a Jhumpa Lahiri today, Jhumpa Lahiri is there. Everybody knows her, everybody loves her writing, but she's not there on any social media. And she doesn't like interacting with readers. She's not too much in any lit fest. I hardly think she was a part of any famous lit fest also. So every time an author asks me this question, I always tell them that you need to choose what kind of an author do you want to be. Do you want to be somebody like a Jhumpa Lahiri, whose work does the talking, and you are okay with that? You just want to focus. You celebrate the love of the written word. You enjoy the art so much that perhaps you close yourself for 6 months and you just keep writing, and the book comes out. Maybe it goes on to win bookers and all that. Or do you want to be somebody like a Chetan Bhagat, who's there everywhere, who's judging dance shows, who's talking politics, who's being there? Or you want to be somewhere in between, somebody say like a Devdutt Patnaik or a Preeti Shenoy, who talks about writing but is still popular. You need to choose what kind of an author do you want to be. And it's not about social media. Because see, again, in social media, Ashutosh, there's one risk which I always highlight. you might be very popular, but what if that platform gets banned? We got TikTok banned overnight.
Correct.
So what if you had 1 million followers there and your book sales came from there?
Mm.
What would you do?
Mm.
So you need to think of having things which are not dependent on external things,
Mm.
policies like that, which can change or, completely diminish your power as an
Mm.
author.
What a great response. Thank you. Looking ahead, have you noticed any kind of trends in the kinds of stories or genres that are getting more attention today?
Yes, and that is one trend that I really feel very happy about. So I have always been a nonfiction reader. I love nonfiction more than fiction, and but somewhere when I started reading as an adult, as growing up, we had this men are from Mars, women are from
Yeah,
Venus, and
yeah.
all those, and it felt very weird that only the Western authors got to teach us something. So after a point, you stop relating to that because that's not applicable to
Correct.
our culture, our society, our habits. Like when you look at men are from Mars, you don't see those kind of men around you because
Mm.
that's not how Indian men are.
Yeah.
So it feels very good to say that a lot of nonfiction is doing very well. Nonfiction is in demand, and there are the bestsellers are nonfiction
Mm.
these days, like Ankur Wariku, and however you call that book, whatever you call it, it is too basic or it is not well written and it is not proper book or anything aside. But the fact is that they are making generations read.
Absolutely. 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 I have time for two more questions for you.
Sure.
Um, how can an author or someone who's written book and new authors go through a lot of rejection?
Yeah.
They write to many people, the manuscript come back, they don't even get a response. How can authors develop resilience when it comes to rejection or slow sales?
The first and the foremost thing that I always tell is it's not personal.
Mm.
The moment we stop making it personal, it makes taking rejection very easily. And I'm not saying that we will always get a very, feedback which we can build on. Sometimes people are not able to give constructive feedback.
Mm.
And that doesn't mean that we take it to heart and we write it off completely.
Mm.
We need to learn how to take the best out of that and see whether it can work.
Yeah.
And publishers, readers, everyone are humans at the end of the day with moods, preferences, busy lives, everything. And maybe your book just didn't work for them in that moment, the kind of person they were. Does
Mm.
not mean that it will not work for somebody else.
Mm.
And second is, you need to remember always why you started. And
Mm.
this is for everyone who's writing a book, who's entering publishing, who's dreaming of writing a book. That why is what keeps you, steady on this. This is what helps me stay. That I remember why I'm here. So I meet wrong people, I meet right people. So when I meet wrong people, I remember why I'm here. So that, I don't let those wrong people make me feel, oh, then maybe this is not for me. No. There can be good people, there can be bad people in this
Fascinating.
industry.
Fascinating. And my last question for you, Namrata, you've been in this business for such a long time.
Yeah.
How do you envision the future of publishing in South Asia? Do you see it as more collaborative? Do you see it as more tech driven or anything else?
More collaborative, definitely.
Mm.
I see a lot of communities coming together of authors, publishers,
Mm.
marketers, readers,
Mm.
and I would personally prefer, and I hope that in future there is less of gatekeeping, more sharing, because that's where collaboration will thrive.
Yeah.
Tech driven, definitely yes, because as I said, AI is taking up so much of our lives that we are going to rely on it, but
Mm.
it will still be human centered. We will have AI, we'll have data analytics, we'll have digital tools, everything will take over publishing, but
Mm.
the heart of storytelling will always be
Obviously.
human, which is us.
Very
And
good.
of course, the regional voices, as you
Mm.
must have seen the latest Booker prizes that we've been seeing from
Yeah.
the regional literature. So regional voices must be taken up, and I'm sure I'm looking at a future where I see a lot of translated literature, a lot of regional voices, a lot of very lesser known authors being brought to the mainstream publishing where they are being picked up.
Oh,
And
fascinating.
of course, a lot of hybrid publishing options, because as I said, there is no shame associated with self-publishing now, and
Mm.
authors should be open to considering this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But on that note, Namrata, I just want to say what a fascinating conversation this has been for me and for my viewers and listeners. Thank you for talking to me about your journey from an investment banker to a book publisher. Thank you for talking to me about Keemiya Creatives and BookBots India. I think you gave some very, very interesting tips, and I would definitely want to tell whoever is considering a book should reach out to Namrata
Thank you.
to check out how, you know, what kind of help Namrata can give to you for your book. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. It was brilliant being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.